channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back with you on this beautiful Tuesday evening slash night, depending on wherever it is that you'll be joining us from. We come at exactly the interval of the game between Spain and France, with Spain having a 1-0 lead at halftime, thanks to a penalty converted by Mikel Oyarzabal, and then the result of which, or the outcome for which it was a foul by Lucas Digne against Lamine Yamal when he attempted to clear that ball in the area, but to very little success. It was a bit unfortunate. He knew he had committed a foul, but quite an accidental foul, as accidental as fouls come. So really, Santo. Hi, Santo. How are you doing? Welcome to the Football Tribe UG channel. Where are you joining us from on this beautiful Tuesday evening? Are you a football fan? Yiga Bashil. Hi. Hi. Hi, Bash. How are you, my brother? I hope you're doing well. What is the meaning of the words? Which word? Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry, my YouTube translated your initial comments and I thought it was something else. Anyways, what did you guys make of the opening 45 minutes from the two sides between Spain and France? Were France lucky to keep an extra man on the pitch following that tackle from Michael Olise on Rodrigo Hernandez Cascante? Then how about that supposed foul for which Ousmane Dembele was supposed to get a free kick, and then the free kick was literally awarded in the opposite direction? I did not really understand that one. Was the penalty too harsh, or it was just as simple as it is? Nothing to explain about it, because you know it's one of those accidental fouls where your reflexes have not helped you. It's one of those fouls that happen in the game and it's completely innocent, but the rules are the rules. So Stonewall penalty, smile for once. That's from Santo. Where do you see the game going? I see my prediction, my wish was for France to go through to the final, because I was hoping for a France versus England final. But from the look of things and reflecting on the last two encounters at the very crucial stage, including the semi-finals of the Euros in 2024, Spain beat France by 2-1. And then you also reflect in June 2025, Spain beating France 5-4 in that game in the semi-finals of the UEFA Nations League. Trust me, I'm left with very little encouragement that France could win this one. Now, they've had some good moments in the opening half, but they've not been able to capitalize on them. In one of the instances, one was an offside, then there was a chance for Bakola, then there was one where Kylian Mbappe was having a run through, and then Unai Simon came out quickly and defended that one. So it's not like France have been so poor, but I felt that they've lacked a bit of controlled movement going forward in the final third. They've looked to do their things on the counter-attack to try and exploit the spaces that Spain leave in behind, because once they are playing their tic-tac, oftentimes they are committing a lot of their numbers high up the pitch. They end up literally playing like Barcelona with that very high defensive line. So, and when you have a player like Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembele, and Bradley Bakola, you want to capitalize on those spaces with the perfect timing, with the right weighted pass, and then get them on the counter-attack, which I believe is still a plausible avenue for them to get a goal. Obviously, France will feel very unfortunate that William Saliba was forced off with that injury. We know that he's been playing the tournament through an injury, that he has a back injury that he's struggling with. So him going off and incoming Maxence Lacroix, that does not give you a lot of confidence. Then you had Mike Maignan, the French goalkeeper, with that poor clearance, the ball that was intercepted, which ended with Fabian Ruiz having an attempt on goal, but that attempt was just a couple of inches wide of the mark. So I felt really that Spain have had the better chances, especially from that moment. I thought Fabian Ruiz could have done better with the finishing touch, but obviously was under pressure. But that was all, the outcome of Mike Maignan poor clearance. Okay, Stonewall penalty, Uganda so poor from Dinya, not knowing what's around him. That's true. I mean, you have to be aware all the time, literally. But when he first of all hits that ball in the first instance, he's thinking, I'm doing a quick turn and are going away to clear it. And then Lamine Yamal had almost seen it. It's one of those challenges where that the defender has sort of taken a poor first touch, and therefore you must occupy a certain space that if it falls within your lap, you can win the ball or they're going to commit a foul. One of those two is likely to happen. So basically that is what it was. Mitchell Wainscott says, I think Didier Deschamps should introduce either Kone or Kante to run that midfield. Now, actually, I thought in my preview, when we were discussing this game, I had the feeling that maybe France needed to sacrifice one of the attackers to accommodate an extra body in midfield to help with the overall patrolling. And with that, my hope was that maybe Chouameni and Manu Kone were going to be accommodated there. And then you play, Adrien Rabiot as though he's in that sort of number 10 role to be a bit more conservative when it came to trying to suffocate Spain within that midfield, because once Spain win the midfield battle, they always make it difficult for you. And therefore, that would have meant that Olise goes back to the wing, which is not where you love him to play, because he's been so brilliant playing in behind Kylian Mbappe. Then Kylian Mbappe remains centrally, and then Ousmane Dembele on the other side. Or, as we saw, I think, in one of those games where you had Kylian Mbappe coming off the left, then Dembele to the right, and then you had Erando Kolomwani leading the lines. But obviously, Olise is too good to be left off the bench, so he has to be accommodated within that setup. So I wouldn't eliminate him. But he was quite very lucky to get away without even a booking for that challenge on Rodrigo Hernandez Cascante. On another day, that could easily be reviewed, and it ends up in a red card. I thought it did not look really, really well. I don't know what you guys made of that. Do you think Kone should come on for Rabiot, or France still needs a left-footed balance? And ain't that risky? Talk about the Coco 45 minutes and the card against Olise. Now, by the way, in the first instance, I thought Olise appeared to have pulled, Cucurella's hair. And my first scare was, haven't we seen one of those moments where a player, in a reaction to being challenged on the ball, is pulling onto the other's hair, that it could easily end into a yellow card? But maybe I was wrong, because I did not get to have the chance to review a second review on that. But then, obviously, in a way of reacting to what had previously happened, Cucurella goes into a challenge that causes him to get a booking. Now, with Cucurella having that booking, you want to target him because you can cause him to error. You can easily cause him to error. That would be a target. Now, on your suggestion about Kone coming into midfield, it means that you have, again, you're simply bringing in an extra body to try and, you're simply swapping out bodies for a bit of fresh energy. But then, does it give you the desired midfield control that you're seeking for? Or would we end up in a situation similar to what we saw with Thomas Tuchel when they were up against Norway, when he withdrew Declan Rice and put Jude Bellingham in the number 8 role, and then put Eberechi Eze in the 10. Eventually, after 20-25 minutes, he realized it wasn't giving him the perfect desired balance. Then he pushes Eze to the left, and then he puts back Bellingham in the 10, and then he brings Eberechi James in that midfield. So you must be, anyway, it's all try and error sometimes, but you must be hoping that whatever change you make works. But for me, as of the view that you're going to sacrifice a Bradley Barcola in this particular case, push Olise wide, and then accommodate that body in that sort of, midfield, so that Adrien Rabiot and Chouameni are not overworked, that you have that extra man in midfield to help you with the patrolling and tracking of passes. Because once you're split wide, we saw in that quick interplay, once Spain received the ball from Mike Maignan, how they quickly passed it around, one of the best interplay that we've seen in the game thus far. So it was really, really beautiful to watch. But so you need that player that is going to come track in deep, but also has the engine to go to run across. And I think if you give Adrian Rabiot that, knowing that Tchouaméni is covered with, let's say, Ekoni, maybe it would give you a chance. I do not know, just thinking out loud. Because for everything you think out to try and do, you must also bear in mind that Spain are going to come back with a counter measure to try and exploit whatever loopholes you may have left yourself within the game itself. So let's wait and see. But the second half is already back. Okay, rubbish tournament. That's from Amelia. Thank you, Amelia. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, Amelia. I don't know why you're referring to it as a rubbish tournament. Earlier on today, as watching a video clip from Adrian Rabiot has been withdrawn. Okay, sorry. I was watching a clip of somebody from the USA, and they were wondering what they are going to do when the World Cup ends on Sunday. They do not know what to do with their time, their summer, because the World Cup has been preoccupying their time. And now that it is going away, they don't know what to do, you know. What do you think? Who do you think will win? I was supposed to put that up, by the way, for our poll question tonight, but my feeling is that Spain will nick it by 2-1, but you never know. You never know. Football is football. That's my objective feeling. But if I had any preference whatsoever, it would be for France to advance to the finals and then come and face possibly England, who I would fancy to see go past Argentina. I do not know, but we just have to wait and see where things will go down to. Anyways, they've made some changes, at least at halftime, with Manu Kone coming on for Adrian Rabiot in that midfield. So looks like Bash was really, really spot on with that sort of desired change in that midfield area, and we see. Okay, then in terms of how both sides set themselves up tonight, you have Unai Simon in goal, Laporte and Pau Kubasi, Pedro Porro and Marco Cucurella in that backline for Spain. You have Rodri, Fabian Ruiz, Dani Olmo, Alex Baina, Mikel Oyarzabal, and Lamine Yamal. On the side of France, you have Mike Maignan, Jules Koundé, David Pemicano. William Saliba had started but did pave the way for Maxence Lacroix for that discomfort that he was feeling. Then Lucas Digne, you have Tchouaméni and Adrian Rabiot, who has been withdrawn for Manu Kone, Dembele, Michael Olise, Bradley Bacola, and Kylian Mbappe. So let's see how the second half fares on. But I'll be of the view that this one ends in normal time. I don't know, but if they were to give us extra time, you never know. You really, really never know. Oh, come on. Uh-oh. Was there anything in that from Maxence Lacroix? I'm with France, wishing you the best of luck. Oh, come on. Bit of a slight nudge in the back. Bacola with a slight stamp on Lamine Yamal's foot, and he went out flying. The referee says play on. Hi, Viola. But France is over. It's far from over. It's far from over. Do you remember me? That's from Titan Forge. Yeah, I do remember the name. I remember struggling reading your name. Titan. Titan? Titan. No, Titan. I think Titan. I do remember struggling to read the name. Titain, how are you doing? How have you been? Where have you been during the World Cup? Titan. You'll indulge me on that one. You'll indulge me on that one. So, but I hope you've been doing all right. Guys, please take part in our poll question for tonight. Who do you think is going do you think is advancing to the final? Do you think it's Spain? Do you think it's France? Who are you rooting for? But Spain are looking quite very, very dangerous. They're looking quite very dangerous. You say I subscribed. Thank you so much. We never know. 80, 81, 118 Mbappe is still playing. I mean, yeah, he's still playing, but so far, Spain have had it the better. Spain have had it the better. And when you go over statistically, they are edging possession slightly. Like I said, I never felt that the two parties were far apart in quality, but France had not had any attempts on target or in the opening first half. And that is what worries you. I'm at the game right now, front row, really. Would you mind capturing a clip and sharing it with us? Obviously, you can't share it on YouTube, but my socials are linked in the bio for the channel. But you can, record a clip for us in case you're at the game. What to think? It's obvious, France. Lamine Yamal is going to cause the French some bit of trouble with his pace. If you let him receive the ball alone and have the space to run into, you're going to have a very, very long night or day in office. So Didier Deschamps looks a man devoid of fresh ideas as he takes France into his final strain. Because this will be his final tournament with the French national team. Up next, at least expectations have it that it will be Zinedine Zidane at the helm of this French side. That's beautiful control. Olise, you must be aware of your surroundings. Lucas Digne is a target for Paris Saint-Germain. In fact, we are waiting. Apparently, he has a £10 million release clause. I was thinking of it and I was thinking to myself, how is that possible? Titan, make a poster of his channel and show it to the cameras. You're betting on the cameras, zooming in on Titan there. But it's okay. Hi, that's from Raymond Kangoma saying Gomez and Danolis should sign for Newcastle for Gomez. Okay, let's wait and see. Amelia, how are you? That's from Viola. Viola, are you enjoying the game? Are you nervous? Who are you supporting, by the way? Oh, how could I forget? You're rooting for husband. Marco Correa. How could I even forget? I was fine, but after the penalties, I don't think I'm fine anymore. It's completely understandable. One of those changes that I expect France to do will be the withdrawal of Bradley Barcola for Desli Doué along the way in the game. Raymond says France versus Spain. It is France win. Mbappe to score a goal. No sooner had I mentioned Desire Doué or Desli Doué, and then they showed us to him on the cameras, getting himself ready to come on. Alex Baina, who is not a very regular starter at Atletico de Madrid, has been quite the regular in for Spain. My ship is Messi. Those isolations may cause France a bit of trouble. find them giving away lots of spaces. Fabian Ruiz feels like his final passes have been overweighted. Desiree coming on for Bradley Bacola. Simply natural replacements for one another. He's only played about 11 minutes of the second stanza. Spain Airport is that way. Not yet, because whoever loses here will have to wait for whoever loses between England versus Argentina for the third place playoff game. That game will come, I think, should be coming on Saturday. The third place playoff should be coming on Saturday. Yeah, it will come on Sunday at midnight or /Saturday, depending on what part of the world you'll be joining us from. So the third place playoff will be there. Raymond Kangumba says Guerra should sign for Newcastle right now. Raymond, you have so many wishes, but let's hope they come true. Who cares about bronze? Cares about third place? Well, the football fanatics do. And it's a goal. Goal number 2 for Spain. Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro scores to make it 2-0 for Spain. The French cannot believe it. Kylian Mbappe urges his team on, seeking that composure. This ain't real. It doesn't feel so. Thought there was a foul on Dani Olmo. A ball drops in the right place. I mean, that's just sleeping on the job. He passes the ball and it keeps moving, and the French defense is just static. It's just static. Little Mike Maignan could do about that, and Luis De La Fuente celebrates. Kylian Mbappe nearly said the four-letter word that begins with an F and ends with a K. The last time Spain made it to the finals of the World Cup was in 2010, which was their only first time. So they're seeking to win it for a second time. Mike Maignan almost played himself into trouble. The referee says carry on. Midfield just appears empty. You almost want to think there's nobody there. This ain't real. Now I'm with England. Won't you get tired of being on the losing side of things? Spain, here they come. Lamine Yamal. And it's a goal. Offside. A flag goes up for Lamine Yamal being offside. He does not agree. Suddenly it will be checked. It will be checked for us to see. But play has resumed quite quickly, as if to suggest that it was as clear as daylight. But France are even looking more struggling in this second half than they did in the opening half. Let's have a look at this one. How is that offside? Somebody tell me how. I need to have another view at that. How was that offside? Viola, the goal did not stand, unless it has stood on your end. But the goal did not stand. It was ruled out for offside. France have been so lazy. They concede possession quite easily. It's like they are getting bullied off the ball without being bullied, actually. You know, the way Spain are winning the ball off of them, even in man-to-man tackles, is quite surprising. You're saying scripted tournament? What part of that is a script? That France should be 2-0 in the in just an hour. Pedro Porro. You're already calling it a curse? This ray is a curse. Hide the VR rook of the screen. Give Lamine Yamal the goal for Spain. Well, I don't know what the conclusion there was. That's what I felt. That he was onside. Even the replay did seem to suggest that he was onside. And yet somehow the goal has not stood. St. Charles Finger, Xavi, Infantino. I don't know who is occupying the seat between Charles Arsene Wenger and Xavi Hernandez. Give at least 3 penalties for France team. They must earn them. What the F is France doing? Your guess is as good as mine. They're even struggling to get into Spain's box. So how will they even win the penalties? Their goalkeepers looked a bit panicky and devoid of confidence. Manu Kone has not been press resistant. I don't think the entire French team have been. may almost be led to believe that Spain are playing with the madness. I was just off. Off. Kylian Mbappe, literally, France's second attempt at goal. The first came from him. Unai Simon put it out wide. But that's a foot from Marco Correa. Perhaps it is what steered it away from being on target. Nonetheless, Unai Simon did appear to have covered the space. Oh, come on. Goalkeeper collects. As a decent find. Unai Simon was attempting to find Lamine Yamal, but Mike Maignan read that one perfectly well. Oh, come on. What was the offside in that? How was that offside? Oh. Finally showed us that offside from Lamine Yamal with Lucas Digne's arm stretched out. I still find it inconclusive. My eyes still find it inconclusive. You know? France will start playing after 70th minute, says to give a tribute to Ronaldo. Really? Why do they have to wait that long? They had better go for it. You may actually think Dembele is not even playing in this game. I've not seen him throughout the entirety of the second half. $77 Sierra 7. You know, I mean, France have really struggled the entire second half. They struggled to have any ounce of ball control. They've looked panicky and rushy. They've lacked composure. They've not been press resistant. Going forward, they seem to struggle to create overloads in zones when they have possession. I don't know, apart from Kylian Mbappe, all the others appear to be afraid to go from distance. There's that moment where Desli Doué receives the ball, is literally, at the edge of the 18 yards box. And I'm thinking, you're going to have a crack at it. He does not have a crack at it. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but, is Spain, is that good, or France, is that bad tonight? Well, both are true. Spain are that good, and France is being that bad tonight, because yes, the first half wasn't too bad for them, but the second half, they really looked bad. France, they looked really bad. KI says, hi, everyone. So if you're really watching France if you had not watched the first half and you're watching France, you'd say, oh my God, how are they only 2-0 down? How are they only 2-0 down? But Viola says, I'm crying. Why are you crying, Viola? When Marco Correa is winning, instead of a hydration break, please give a shame A shame break for France. Then Val asks why. They've been far from it. They've been far from it. You know. So, but anyways, um, you even look around, but I think subsequently we could see Usman Dembele being withdrawn for maybe Iran Cheki to come on in the number 10 role and then push maybe Odisha White. I don't know. Here they come, the changes. No sooner had I mentioned them than France are looking to make them. Olise is being withdrawn for Ranchaki. Wow. It's not had the best game. And then Lucas Digne is also been withdrawn for Theo Hernandez. Another defensive change for Didier Deschamps. Oh. You know, part of our argument throughout the course of the tournament was that France had yet to meet their match thus far in the competition, but this game appears to have exposed them of their inefficiencies. So, Mbappe still Mbappe. Ah, Dues cross could not find anybody. Wait, how France has Spain managing to isolate France's centre backs? See how constantly Mikel Oyarzabal is found in a 1v1 situation or in a 1v2 situation versus that French backline. Excuse me. Now he's being withdrawn for Ferran Torres, who is a target for Paris Saint-Germain. It's a strategy. Okay. Runs 0 attempts on target. Yeah, that's true. None on targets. Here comes the Montada. Trust Mbappe, guys. He won't let us down. Okay, let's see. Chucky gonna turn the game over. Well, only time will tell, but only 15 minutes are left to play until the 90th minute mark. Such a heavy pass. Creatively, France have not created that much. Have not created that much. Come on. Get out of the back line. Argentina must win tomorrow. So you want Spain versus Argentina in the final? Too bad the likes of Magnus Aklecho. Otherwise, it's Spain winning it. The Euro 2024 final was Spain versus England, and Spain came out on top, beating England by 2-1. So I see where you're coming from with that. Hmm. Spain looking to make a burst of changes. Mikel Merino, the dangerous substitute that scored two of Spain's two match-winning goals versus Portugal and versus Belgium, comes on for Dani Olmo, while Pedro comes on for Fabian Ruiz. Hasn't had the best of tournaments, Pedro. The more the minutes slip away, the less conviction or belief France will have in a comeback. McKenna says Spain have dried up France like a sponge. Aha. They've been that good. Uh-oh. Hi, you say Achai Gray should sign for Newcastle from Tottenham. Okay. Secha Basin, show us your screen. What do you mean I should show you my screen? What is on my screen is my face, which is what you see, you know. Say my TV, the copyright rules do not permit me. I'll be violating them, and then the video will be struck down. Oh. Deschamps lost the plot. It appears that way. Oh, come on. As a fairly decent cross in, but Unai Simon was there to protect his side. France versus Spain, Spain versus England in the final. England win the World Cup trophy. Well, you just have to wait and see. Which those French fans out there in the stands can hardly believe it. Oh, thought there was going to. There's a foul there. Good joke, Raymond. As from KI, KI does not believe for any one bit that England are even capable of winning it. Speaking of England, Declan Rice is available and fit to start. 10 minutes left to play of no more time. England winning. Why do you not believe that England is capable of winning? For me, all the four teams that make it to the semi-finals are always capable of winning it. Unfortunately, France have not shown that. You know. Uh-oh. Tesla Due. Just missed a golden opportunity. He had to put that one high. The goalkeeper was out of his goal. Heads the ball to prevent it from landing on Kylian Mbappe. And then it falls to Desiree Doué. Desiree Doué attempting to score. He simply puts it within the height advantage reach of Unai Simon, who had returned to his own box. France are not obligated to bring play to a pause. Will Spain have a player down because it's not a head injury? Unai Simon seems to be signaling that he's in pain after colliding with Theo Hernandez. Ball was there for the taking. He tried to make the most of it, but there wasn't much in that. For me, it should be a corner kick for France. Spain looking to bring on Nico Williams. Jill, I'm gonna miss the late nights, the late night streams. Well, we'll be here. We'll be here. You never know. You never know what preseason may have to offer. But I'm gonna miss some of them as well. Those that went on for 3 hours, one that went on for 4 hours, another went on for about 3 hours and 45 minutes. Pedro Porro off and Marcos Llorente on. Okay. We'll be reverting back to our sort of routine schedule gradually, bit by bit. We'll be returning back to it bit by bit, bit by bit. Oh, come on. Really? Uh-oh. Maxence Lekwa sending Lamine Yamal to the cleaners. France have not played with any sense of urgency. You've not felt the rush in the game. I don't know why Ousmane Dembele is still on the pitch. I really don't. I really don't know why he's still on the pitch. First time seeing him now. Yep. It's been AWOL the entirety of the second half. And yet somehow it was Olise that was sacrificed. Rancheki is trying to be too smart or playful, nearly cost his team, but he did himself a favor and recovered. 5 minutes left to play. Kylian Mbappe with a bit of an unsporting character there. taking an aim at Unai Simon. He's genuinely trying to challenge for the ball. Then the goalkeeper picks it up. Didier Deschamps thought he's injured. Nah, he's simply making the best out of every moment. Similar to what happened between him and Theo Hernandez a short while back. It's not been any different. Is Ledoué, oh, come on. Lamine Yamal penalized for foul right on the edge of the 18 yards box. It is a foul. Couple of, maybe a foot, one or a foot, if 2 feet in, and it would have been a penalty. Kylian Mbappe, can he have the composure to take aim at this one? Oh, that's over the bar. What harmed France most, the penalty or Saliba injury? I think that Saliba injury was detrimental just as much as the penalty. So I think all gave within their own rights in equal measure. I don't think any one of them is entirely to blame, because when you look at that second goal that they concede from Pedro Porro, literally the entire backline is caught flat-footed. It's caught napping. It's caught frozen in the moment, you know. Yamal getting physically bullied by Theo Hernandez. I think Spain are well into the final, as we have the final minute of the 90 minutes, and whatever amount of time that will be added on. Obviously, I see no way out for France, not a way out for them, not a way to come back. Marco Correa with the timely intervention there. But for the first time in this game, he felt that France had conjured out a beautiful pattern of interplay. A ball still within the danger zones. KI says it's over. Amelia shows a frown face. Correa literally nicked that ball off Mbappe's foot. He'll be playing for Real Madrid next season, having joined them from Chelsea, a deal worth about 60 million euros. as the 27-year-old Spanish left back. Even Pedro having a crack at it, knocking himself out there. That Upamecano is out of position there. They would be looking for an equalizer if they had one goal in this game, but they don't even have a goal. Remember, Spain have only conceded one goal thus far in this tournament, and that was in their 2-1 victory against Belgium. So, Maxence Lecoix wants to give the French people a heartbreak. Already 2-0 down is too much to ask. How about if it were to become 3-0? Melia cannot believe her eyes that out of the 7 added minutes, 2.5 of them are gone. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's been that bit of a long day. We can't do anything. Patrice Motsepe out there, Charles Puyo out there in the stands. I think Mbappe is the most hated person in France right now. Hated for what? What's he done? What's he not done? You know? I mean, he's done the best he could. They've not created any chances or enough chances in this game to even have a decent sniff at goal. So, really, Nico Williams. He let them down as captain. How? Tell me what he's done in this game that you'd have loved him to do better. Oh, at long last, France gets an attempt on target from Ousmane Dembele. I don't know if that's why he was kept on, but it's not good enough. Three attempts on target, two from Kylian Mbappe, and one from Dembele. Spain have had only 2, and they've been both goals. One a penalty, and another from Pedro Porro. I think Marco Correa has been really, really brilliant in this game. I still can't believe it. Well, it takes a bit of time to sink in, but we are left with under 1 minute and 20 seconds of the game. Wish Norway played tonight instead of France. Well, Norway were sent packing, and there's nothing you can say to bail them out. Oh, Dembele once again testing Unai Simon, but to little success. Desli Due goes to Mbappe, but Mbappe could not bend it on target. And 30 seconds from now, the referee will be calling this game to an end. Luis de la Fuente knows it's as good as done on the match to the finals. They're gonna kill Mbappe. Well, they'll be killing him for nothing. All I want is England to not win the World Cup. That's from Sino Bueno. Oh, Sino Bueno, you already lost your bet. German and France are sent packing. It's official. Spain marched to their second ever World Cup final, having gone to the first one in 2010 before winning it. And they eventually won it, when they beat Netherlands by a goal to nil. Francesco Fabregas with the assist in that one for Andreas Iniesta to score what was the winning goal and the only goal of the final of the 2010 World Cup. We've seen, I think, maybe a couple of finals that have ended 1-0, including that one in 2014, in which Germany beat Argentina by a goal to nil. So that goal scored by Mario Götze. You cannot see my nails. I'm punk. I'm a punk of my village. Sino Bueno. German went home a long time ago. And I remember reflecting on that, saying, Sino just lost the bet, So what happens if England win it? Sino Bueno, what happens if England win it? Because that game is tomorrow between them and Argentina. We'll be doing the preview tomorrow morning. For those of you that care to, to know. Oh, come on. Waiting for someone's email response that is yet to come through. That is yet to come through. To be honest, I don't count a World Cup without Italy in it. Whether you count it or not, the record will show that the World Cup was played. And the record will show that on 3 consecutive occasions, Italy have not played at the World Cup. And during one of those editions, we had our best ever World Cup final, at least in my individual memory, in 2022, when Argentina beat France to win their 3rd FIFA World Cup, 3-3 in normal time or after extra time, before it went to penalties. How the F, literally how, Amelia still can't believe it, that France will only stay in the USA to play in the 3rd place playoff against England or Argentina. Against England or Argentina, because one of those will be the one that will lose tomorrow. The winner will go on to meet Spain in the final, while the loser will be out to meet with France in the 3rd place playoff. Okay, I will change village and marry again. Is that what you're supposed to do if you lose the final? Sorry, if England win the World Cup, Sino Bueno, is that what you're supposed to do? I told you the next time you press a bet, it had better be a bet of you wearing a skirt or a dress and high heels to office. Jesus Christ. Farouk says, I remember telling you anyone to always go first in the semis doesn't win the trophy. Yeah, you mentioned that the first team to go in the semis never wins it. And here we are. France are out. They were the first team to go there. How about the first team to go to the finals? Also tell us if there is any jinx there, so that people can know right on time whether not to bet their money on Spain come Sunday, the 19th of July at 10 p.m. East African time, while the 3rd place playoff will be at exactly midnight East African time, which will be about 10 p.m. That is UK time on Saturday. So Amelia says, where are those editors who were hyping them up? Well, including former Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger, who had predicted that France will win the World Cup. Well, it has not come to pass. I'm a kilometers. If they don't do it, you're gonna do what, KI? Football masterclass from Spanish team playing like a club. I mean, yeah. And that's what I've always said about the Spanish national team. That is, if there's anything that they beat, that they are better than their opponents, it's a chemistry within those players. They literally know each other. They play as though they play week in, week out together. You know, Marco Correa, what a man of the man performance from him for me. I thought he had a really, really good game. Danny Olmo causing all sorts of troubles, you know, in that sort of final third bit of space, even though Spain ended up with only about 2 attempts on target. Rodri in that midfield was quite brilliant as well. Lamine Yamal, once again, was not Lamine Yamal. Besides winning the penalty and the goal he had scored that was ruled out for an offside, he did not offer much in the game. Then Pedro Porro, I thought he was immense. Unai Simon, I thought he was immense in the game. So those were some of the standout performance. And then the way Mikel Oyarzabal constantly found himself in those 1v1 situations with Adair Upamecano was always impressive. You know, he literally kept them back in there. So anyway, no bets if no bets if England wins it, but I don't want noise pollution in my village. I had enough with Arsenal winning the league. If England wins it, I can never show my face ever again. Sino Bueno joins us from Sarawak in Malaysia, where he's what is it, petroleum technician, something like that, or engineer, you know. Anyways, Rodrigo Cascante, midfield general, yeah, that was a brilliant performance from him. A lot in football may change, but midfield is very important. France can't play because they have average midfield. That's from Cairo. It's one of those criticisms that I've always had about them. QA, QC assistant, quality assurance, quality control assistant. There for Sino Bueno. Thank you for the reminder. Simon Muller says, good evening, sir. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Simon Muller. Simon Muller does join us from Germany. Farouk says, I'm still on my prediction, England to take it. Now, Sino Bueno, can I read that comment again? Because Farouk, aka Gladiator, says, England will win it. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Sino Bueno placed a bet with his cousins that if Arsenal win the Premier League title, he would tint his hair red. So Arsenal won, he tinted his hair red. Then he placed a bet of them with his family members that if German make it out of the group stages, was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. He would polish his nails red. So German never made it to the extent that he had predicted, and he had to paint his nails red. And now, Jesus Christ, if England win it, all his family members and everybody he knows in and around his village is an England fan. So he's the old man out supporting German in his village. So that's the conundrum he finds himself in. Okay, Cairo says it was a training for Spain, nothing much from France. Indeed, they did not offer much until the final sort of minutes of the game when they had genuine attempts on goal. 2 of them from Ousmane Dembele. The ones attributed to Kylian Mbappe were not, because one was in a very tight angle. It was almost going to hit either the upright or side net, something like that. You know, Danish Patel says, bro, I'm from South Korea. Oh, wow. We've never had somebody from South Korea. The same way we've never had anybody from North Korea. Not that I wouldn't expect anyone from North Korea since they do not consume external media and social media. But how is South Korea? What part of South Korea do you come from? Is it Seoul? Anyways, Farouk says Didier Deschamps' selection was a bit lacking. And now, I remember when we were doing the preview for this game, I was advocating for him to sacrifice one of his attackers. Instead of playing Olise, Mbappe, Dembele, and a Bradley Bakola or a Desire, I'd hoped for him to sacrifice that left wing of Bakola and Due to accommodate an extra man in midfield to have an extra chasing body within that midfield. Because, I mean, it's not rocket science to know that Spain are going to dominate the midfield. And once they are dominant in midfield, you're going to struggle in the other departments of the pitch. So basically, that had been my anticipation, that he was going to drop somebody from the left wing and then push Mike Olise to the right and Dembele to the left, and then accommodate an extra body in midfield so that you have a double pivot of Manu Kone, Chouameni, and then Adrien Rabiot, or maybe N'Golo Kante in there, depending on how he saw fit. But he did not do that. And even when he made the changes, we were here at halftime, and Bash Ghana, or Yiga Bashir, aka, was saying, he was suggesting that they withdraw Adrien Rabiot for Manu Kone. And I was thinking, I was still insistent on my earlier view. And well, luckily enough for him, what he was suggesting is exactly what they did. But still, it did not work out. It did not give them the desired change or the fruits that they had hoped for. They still continued to struggle. You felt like they were almost upset in midfield, that Spain were constantly arriving to their defense in a way. So I'm moving to Kampala if England wins it. You're most welcome to Kampala. I'm here to welcome you if England do win it. Okay. Danish says, Dada. Danish, Farouk responding to Danish says, Danish Patel is Indian. You're lying to us. I was about to say, I'm accustomed to the name Patel being almost a monopoly of Indians, because in our country, literally, first of all, let me give you a little bit of context. Originally or traditionally, all betting companies were owned by Indians in our country. So if you lost money in a bet, would say you lost money to Patel. Even up to this day, until this day, if somebody tells you that they lost money to Patel, you know they lost money to a betting company that is owned by Indians. So, okay, it is coming home. Definitely, that's from Alash Gush. Alash Gush joining us from the UK. Rabiot had a poor game from the start, and Chouameni was too pedestrian. Now, usually, it's very difficult for two midfielders, for one to have a bad day and the other has a good day. Oftentimes, they are both poor. I don't know if it's like a ripple effect, because once one is poor, it sort of isolates the other, and then they end up in a bit of a mismatch. That's what I felt. So it felt justified to make the substitution for Adrien Rabiot because he was not having a good game. But still, tactically, it did not change much. In fact, France looked even poorer in the second half than they did in the first half, at least in my humble opinion. I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong, but that was my humble observation. So the introduction of Manu Kone did not solve anything. In any case, it looked to make things worse. It's until literally the latter stages of the game and that you felt that maybe there was something in it for them, but still a little too late, Okay, would Zidane do better with this France squad? Well, your guess is as good as mine. The good thing is that after their third place playoff on Saturday/Sunday early morning or wee hours, it will be Zinedine Zidane that will be expected to take on the Realms at the helm of the French team. So he'll have his chance because Euro 2028 is not too far away. It's not too far away. So then you say, hello there. This is Shimi. Says, hello there. France will meet with Argentina for the third place, England versus Spain. That will be a repeat of the 2024 Euro finals, in which Spain beat England by 2-1. Then I think, was it Cole Palmer that scored the only goal in that game for Team England? I stand to be corrected if it was otherwise. But that was the best of my recollection to that extent. In as far as the final was concerned between those two parties. Anyways, okay, so okay, yeah, it was 2-1 in favor of Spain. That's true. So, anyways, let's see. Let's see more games, more comments from you. But for Spain, Nico Williams and Mikel Oyarzabal were the goal scorers in that final. Where did I stop? Okay, Sino Bueno says France should have played a 4-3-1-2 system. Okay, Mbappe, Dembele, center forwards, Olise, attacking midfield, Rabiot, Kante, and Chouameni in central midfield, defensive midfield. Looks like his views are a little bit divergent of mine, but okay, it's still the same. It's still the same setup. It's the same as a 4-3-3, literally, depending on operation, but still makes sense. All he's advocating for us that midfield to be a bit compact, to be a bit conservative. Then Lionel Tao says, Rodri, Fabian Ruiz, Danny Olmo, what a midfield performance. Sorry, Pedro. Pedro had a good cameo, I thought to myself. Ashimi says it was 2-1 for Spain. Okay, who is going to win the Ballon d'Or now? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Now, unfortunately for football, if Argentina win the World Cup, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ballon d'Or is given to Lionel Messi. But for me, I'm still an advocate of Harry Kane. I mean, he's had a tremendous campaign. He scored 73 goals and provided 8 assists. That's about an 81 goal involvement in about 60, is it 68 games or 64 games? Thereabout. So, and it's a question I asked the other day, and I'll continue to pose the same question. Does Harry Kane deserve the Ballon d'Or? You know, for me, if England make it to the final, I'd give it to him. I'd give it to him. I'd give it to him, really. Because, I mean, let's look at that Spanish national team. Look around them. Who deserves the Ballon d'Or in that team? I don't think anyone deserves it. So for me, if England make it to the final, I'd advocate it for Harry Kane. So, Simon Mola says, I think Spain defended on an extremely high level with its whole team. Pressing against the ball was just near perfection. That was something France was not used to, and what France could not overplay. That's true. I thought France are kept under pressure. They were conceding possession quite easily. It almost felt like they were being bullied off the ball, and yet they were not being physically bullied, if you know what I mean. You know, it almost felt like psychologically being bullied. You know, somebody that threatens you without saying they will beat you, but you literally get afraid of them as soon as you see them. With Italy getting serious, considering Pep Guardiola as their savior, Euros, we might see changes. Personally, have not believed Zizou yet for France squad 2028. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Now, for Italy, it is still a wish. I don't know if Pep Guardiola is going to take on that job, but Antonio Conte is also one of the other candidates that they are thinking about for that Italian job. But the Maldini is now the technical director. Okay, KI says, what now? Harry Kane is winning the Ballon d'Or. Thank God somebody agrees with me. That's from Farouk. Kane deserves it. Ultimately, a complete player. That's from Sino Bueno. Shimi says Argentina will lose because their defense is so old. Just Lisandro Martinez. That is good, but you never know. Messi could pull off something. Speaking of the Argentina defense, now Inter Milan did approach Tottenham Hotspurs in an attempt to, or in a bid to sign Dejan Space, and instead Tottenham Hotspurs offered them the opportunity to sign Cristiano Romero. However, initial reports do suggest that Tottenham's valuation of the player is quite significantly high, as opposed to what Inter could be willing to afford. So there's an expectation that Cristiano Romero could leave Tottenham this summer, with Barcelona also being reportedly interested in his services. Whereas he's a player that does offer you experience. Now, Cristiano Romero is that sort of player who is always one two actions away from a moment of madness in the game. Ordinarily, he's a good defender. He will defend well. He will pop up in and score you a goal or two in different games. But he has this thing of he has this knack of losing his head sometimes, and then he goes on to make costly mistakes. So that's how I look at Cristiano Romero. Lentau says, so ball possession gives you a chance against France. Argentina would have beaten France. Okay, surely Bellingham, what's he achieved with the club? Yes, he's had a good tournament to the extent of the World Cup, but reflect back on his season at Real Madrid, and it was far from good. I think you have to go back to his debut campaign when they win the Champions League in 2024, beating Borussia Dortmund 2-0 in the final. That's when he had a good campaign with Real Madrid. The subsequent ones have been bang average, in my humble opinion. So you sort of think about it, and yeah, for me it's Harry Kane. It's Harry Kane that I would consider going forward. So at the World Cup, he has scored 6 goals. That's as many as Harry Kane, and he's also provided 1 assist thus far. But when you go back to his campaign at Real Madrid in La Liga, 28 games played, 6 goals and 4 assists provided. The season prior to that, he had scored 9 goals and provided 7 assists. But in his debut campaign, where he's shown the most, he scored 19 goals and provided 6 assists. That was a 25-goal involvement. He's never even achieved that ever since then. So really, you reflect on that. I do not think he's had the sort of season at club level that would support his candidature in as far as the Ballon d'Or is concerned. Okay. Mbappe, Leonardo says Mbappe has not won anything for 2 seasons. I believe he's a dictator. Well, how is he a dictator? Anyways, that's a question I'll keep asking you guys. How is he a dictator? So that was the game. Tomorrow, England versus France. Will be here in the morning for that discussion. Tomorrow is what? Wednesday, right? At 9 a.m. East African time, we'll be here. Joel is back with us. I watched the game right now. Okay, and how was it for you? B Singh says, bro, do you think England has a chance against Argentina? I think they have a great chance. Yes, they have a chance. England have a motivation to go into that game. Obviously, equally, Argentina have their own motivations. But England, whoever cares to speak to them, will be reminding them of the shenanigans of the 1986 World Cup in Mexico, when they were knocked out, I think at the semifinals, with that infamous hand of God goal from Diego Armando Maradona. So if they have a bone to pick, that is their bone. And they go up against a team who, beyond Lionel Messi, they've not been that excellent of performers. That's why their lack of excellence in performances is why a lot of people have been of the view that in a way they've been carried through this tournament. That why is it that at the end of every game week, it's them that appeared to have been favored by the officiating of the game? Now, whether you believe that to be true or otherwise, it's sort of been the public debate, So England do have a chance. They have to keep their composure. They have to defend really, really well and not give away so many chances, because if you're going to give away chances, Julian Alvarez will bury them. Lionel Messi will bury them. Lautaro Martinez could bury them, And in set pieces, Cristiano Romero can be equally dangerous. We saw the other day, it was Alexis McAllister who popped up with the goal, against Switzerland. So, really, but they will have a chance. Jude Bellingham, he's been immense. If he can bring his A game, Harry Kane, if he can bring his A game, Declan Rice with his feet, if he can bring his A game, and Elliot Anderson, who I thought had a good game versus Norway, Anthony Gordon, Bukayo Saka, if they come really, really good, better than they performed against Norway, they'll definitely have a chance. Okay. McKenna says, yes, but it isn't just about goals and assists. Jude does it all. Yes, he does it all. But like I said, for me, it's not about what he's done or not done in this tournament per se. But go back and reflect at his club level, what he offered last campaign. It was far from good. He struggled with injuries at some spell. You remember, leading to this World Cup, he was even doubtful for the squad. Why? Because I think it was around the March international break or the one prior to it, where he had been omitted from the England squad and they were all up in arms as if to suggest they had dropped the Lionel Messi, you know? So that's how his campaign has gone. Okay, quickly, through some of your other comments. Okay, how can defend also? He can defend also, maybe. Spain versus France. Spain won the game. England versus Spain final. England to win. That's from Raymond Kangumba. Shimi says, that's why a team should not depend on one man. Look at France. They think Mbappe is their savior. If it's just to be fair, when Kylian Mbappe sneezes, the rest of the French squad catches a cold. But to be fair, the entire French side today has not been that good. They've not been good enough. They've been far from it. Okay. If it's just goals and assists, it will be Holland every year. Not really. I mean, okay. The point is that whatever your contribution is to a team, because if it were just about goals and assists, then Rodrigo Hernandez Cascante wouldn't have won the Ballon d'Or in 2024. Luka Modric wouldn't have won it back in 2018. Fabio Cannavaro wouldn't have won it back in 2006 if it was about goals and assists. So most definitely, it's not about that, really, you know. But what made it about goals was Lionel Messi winning it in 2010, by the way. Beyond winning the Spanish La Liga, he was given the Ballon d'Or because he had scored, I think, 92 goals in that calendar year, something that I did not agree with because the likes of Wesley Sneijder had won a treble with Inter Milan and guided his Netherlands side to the finals of the World Cup. You had Andreas Iniesta, who had won the Spanish La Liga with Lionel Messi, having a fairly good contribution, but also scored the winning goal of the World Cup. And his contribution to that World Cup was immense, but it was not even given to him. So at that point, they made it about that. So I'm not saying it is about goals and assists. Otherwise, you'd have never had all those players that I've mentioned prior to have won it. So kindly reflect yourself on that. Okay. Raymond says Joao Gomez, and we discussed that already. B. Singh says, I'm a lot bullish on Thomas Tuchel as a cup competition manager, as well as English players have shown that they can find ways to win. Argentina, Spain, it will be tricky, but I think they will lift the World Cup. I did not get that final bit of your comment. Argentina, sorry. You said against Spain, it will be tricky, but they will lift the World Cup. Yeah, obviously, Spain is always going to be a difficult opponent or a tricky opponent for any side that faces them, or that you know. But you know, a final is a final. It can go either way, you know. And to be fair, once you get yourself in the final, you have a 50-50 chance of winning it. And part of England's strength lays exactly in what you've said, in looking at Thomas Tuchel as a cup competitions manager, you know. So that's what part of their key strength. A lot of people criticize him for the changes and rotative nature with which he played with his team, but it was all to try and win the game, and eventually it turned out well, you know. You literally listed his goals and assists. Yes, I listed them to show you part of his contribution to his team, because if I'm suggesting that Harry Kane should win it, I'm not going to separate him from his contributions of goals and assists that helped Bayern Munich win the German Bundesliga and win the DFB Pokal, but also helped their side reach the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. So I cannot omit that. So Jude Bellingham's overall contribution at Real Madrid guided them to nothing in terms of pieces of silverware. They came out empty-handed. If they had won some silverware, then I'll be advocating for him as well. So what your contribution now? One of Hurricane's undoing. I remember saying this about him at Tottenham Hotspur. He was scoring the goals. I think on 4 different occasions he ended up as the Premier League top scorer, but that was for his individual self and the individual accolade. At the end of the day, Tottenham never won any piece of silverware while really still was there. So that's just a statement of fact. It's not subjective in its sense. So even if we're choosing, let's say, a defender to say, let's look for a defender. Let's say you wanted to give it to an Enzri Konsa. Your position will be that Enzri Konsa deserves the Ballon d'Or because he's been a brilliant defender. But then we'll ask, beyond being a brilliant defender, what's he won? And then we go back to Aston Villa, where he helped them win the UEFA Europa League, and we say, okay, good point. Now, if they win let's say the World Cup, that's another bonus. You're saying Real Madrid isn't just Bellingham. I'm not saying Real Madrid is just Bellingham, and that now. Do you think Ousmane Dembele winning the Ballon d'Or in 2025, he was everything a PSG? Come on. It's a team sport at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, we pick one player who we think is a standout player better than others. You yourself know better than that, better than anybody else. That's why out of the entire team, you're picking out Jude Bellingham to advocate for him. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm simply saying, for me, Harry Kane is above him in my choices for a Ballon d'Or, and in any case, I wouldn't put Jude Bellingham in my number 2, but in your choice, in your assessment of it, you're putting Jude Bellingham at number 1. So I'm simply saying, I've given you my reasons for Harry Kane, and I've given you my counter argument against why I wouldn't be choosing Jude Bellingham for it, So that's just a difference of opinion. So, okay, quickly. That should not depend. Okay, I think I read that one. Okay. Okay. GW knew then that he's more than that. He has literally made like 2 certain goal blocks. It isn't just about goals and assists. I know that is my point. If the final turns out to be Spain versus England, we are going to witness the beauty of football. The final will surely not be boring. That's from Shimi. Okay, we can only hope in waiting to see whether it can live to the expectations that you have of it. You literally listed his goals and assists. I said it's about more than that. I understand that. I'll give an example. As much as I'm advocating for Harry Kane, one of the things that Harry Kane has improved on his game, and we've seen this while he's at Bayern Munich more, is how he drifts backwards into literally midfield, and help his teammates create, and he creates that space that is ended up being occupied by a Luis Diaz, by Michael Olise to score the goals. Sometimes a Sajin Nabre, sometimes a Leonard Carr, and yet still also popping himself up to also bang in the goals. So it's not like his game is all about scoring goals, the way we've critiqued Brad Erling Haaland in the past. Now, to Haaland's credit, last campaign, he finished with a tally of 8 assists, and that was quite commendable, It was simply commendable. What's his defensive stats then? How many clean sheets is he kept? Since you said it's not just about what I've enlisted, give us his contribution. How many blocks he's had, how many ball interceptions, how many duels he's won, how many key passes, how many chances he's created. Give us all that to complete to support your argument for him. You're the one advocating for him, So give us those numbers and we'll reflect on them and see if they can support him to that. Okay, Real Madrid isn't just Bellingham. I think I responded to that. The point is, what you are missing is the work he does when he doesn't have the ball. So if you're saying what we are missing is the work that he does when they do not have the ball. Then we may as well nominate Declan Rice. We may as well nominate Moises Caicedo for the work he does for Chelsea when they do not have the ball. We may as well bring Enzo Fernandez to the conversation for the work he does when they do not have the ball. So, whatever the overall contribution that he gives to his team, his country, and club level, all I'm saying is that it has to amount to something. The reason as why Harry Kane was never in the conversations in the final three for the Ballon d'Or while he really was at Tottenham, because he was not winning anything. He's not winning anything. If he was winning at least a Premier League title, or he had won the Champions League title in 2019 when they lost to Liverpool, he would have been in that conversation, But his all-round game at least was helping Tottenham. It's not that it was all about the goals, But okay, I'll leave that debate at that. I think I've said enough of it, in my opinion. So I'll not carry it on any further for the benefit of the other, audience. End of discussion. Harry Kane is surely going to win the Ballon d'Or. Let's see. I hate it when people do that. Is this a World Cup? He has saved 1 goal, 2 goals, literally blocks in this World Cup. Okay, I can show you them both. I did not get that. I can show you them both. I did not get that quite clearly. I don't know if you're referring to his statistics. You can put them down in the comment section, his overall contribution to that extent. But like I said, it's just a difference of opinion. You're choosing Jude Bellingham, I'm choosing Harry Kane. That's all I'm saying. No, how many goals and assists did Rodri get? That's the point I made for you, to say it's not all about goals and assists. At the end of the day, you have a team that has, let's say, you have a team that has about 26 players. And out of 26 players, you support Newcastle, is it? If I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, McKinnon, that one. At the end of every season, every club awards their best player at the club. It's not to say the others have not contributed anything, but it's simply to acknowledge that throughout the entire season, one that has stood out more than anybody else has been this one. So then they give them that accolade. And so when it comes to the Ballon d'Or, it goes all around, all the big teams across Europe, predominantly at least. You go look at the PSG, for example, you'll be looking, okay, if PSG won the Champions League, what else did they do domestically? And whatever they did, who was an integral part of that? I'll give you an example. When the accolade was awarded to Ousmane Dembele, I was simply saying, how about the Vitinhas? How about Nuno Mendes? How about Achraf Hakimi? They had perfectly good seasons, They had looked brilliant. When you crossed over to Barcelona, Lamine Yamal had a brilliant season. But even more than Lamine Yamal, I thought Rafinha deserved it just as much, But at the end of the day, those that voted for it thought that above everything else, Ousmane Dembele stood out, more than anybody else. That was their view. You and I can choose to disagree on it. So in touching about players like Fabio Cannavaro, and by the way, hadn't Zinedine Zidane behaved the way he did behave in that final, I had a feeling that he was going to win that Ballon d'Or. But because he goes on, because discipline is also a part in that consideration, he headbutts Materazzi, he loses his head, and the rest is history. So in 2006, you must remember, Real Madrid had won the Spanish La Liga with Fabio Capello, I think, and eventually they let him go. So the point in bringing out the likes of Luka Modric was to show you that really I enlist their statistics. It's a key part of their game, but that's not everything. You know, it's like saying, do you mean to say that Hurricane in his game has not done anything to help his team win the ball back? Because that would be also a game contribution, you know. But like I said, I'll close the debate at that. So simply best for me, the other statistics that you are using to support your advocacy for Jude Bellingham, and we'll also discuss those on their own merits. The point is he's doing both. Yes, he's doing both. Give us those statistics to support that. That's all I'm asking for. Yes, Newcastle. Why is Rodri Ballon? How about Bellingham? Why is Rodri Ballon? I did not get the question clearly. How about Bellingham? He has scored 6 goals, the same as Bellingham. Gary Warren, guys, my view is not based entirely on just the World Cup. That's why I said in 2022, as one of those that felt hard done by when the Ballon d'Or went to Lionel Messi, just because he had won the World Cup with Argentina. You get? Because in 2010, when Iniesta had won it with Spain, it never went to him. So it did look like the goalposts were shifting in his favor. And yet, even in 2010, they seem to be shifted in his favor. So for me personally, my consideration is not just about the World Cup. It also goes back to the club level, what your contribution helped your club achieve. And I've enlisted why I believe Hurricane deserves it, at least more than Jude Bellingham. So all I'm simply asking is that give me what you believe your overall contribution is for Jude Bellingham to warrant winning it. That's all I'm asking for, you know. Okay. Has dragged us through this. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Manchester United have unveiled Yuri Tielemans as a new Manchester United player. One of those deals that was really handled quite quickly, almost came out of the blue for many of us. David Austin broke the exclusive, and okay. No, you misunderstood. I think Ken should get it. Yes, but your argument comes back to goals and assists. Okay. Let me ask, and this is a question for you, McKenna. What is Hurricane's primary role as a striker? What's his primary role? Okay, so Jesus Christ. So anyways, like I was saying, Man United did unveil Yuri Tielemans as a new Manchester United player. I can't wait to see how Manchester United's midfield is going to shape up for next season. So I think it's quite a good scoop for Man United. Yuri Tielemans consistently has been one of the best number 8s there has been in the Premier League over the last couple of seasons. Having joined, I think, them, was it in 2022 or 2023? I think about 2022 as a free agent coming in from Leicester City. And I remember thinking to myself, how have the big teams slept on the job not to sign Yuri Tielemans as a free agent? Whatever their reservations were at the time, well, he's ended up at Manchester United. And he did say in a quote that when Manchester United call, you cannot think twice. So quite a delightful move. His last biggest contract of his career, and he gets it with Manchester United. I don't think you can do anything to sort of better that. That's literally, I can't say time to perfection, but for a player that is 29 and does turn 30, I think in May next year, he's going to have what should I call it? He's going to have quite the climax to his career, you know. I'm not privy to the particulars of his contract, but I would assume it's a 4-year deal, at least, with an option to extend for a further year. The same way we had what's his name? Carlos Casemiro, when he joined Manchester United from from Real Madrid 4 years ago. So Yuri Tillemans is a Manchester United man, and he becomes the third player to sign for Manchester United in this transfer window after Andre Santos and Carlo Dallo, the goalkeeper from Leeds, who did join Manchester United as a second choice goalkeeper, with the expectation that Altay Baindia will be leaving the club, and Andre Onana is going back to Trabzonspor on another season-long loan. So quite a scoop there for Manchester United. Quite brilliant for them to get Yuri Tillemans in there, and I mean I can't wait. Okay, then Arsenal have apparently explored Victor Gyökeres swap deal in initial talks to sign Julian Alvarez. Now, I've spoken about this before. It's not the kind of deal that I would have hoped for. I'd rather they keep Victor Gyökeres, as well as having released the intent to have Julian Alvarez, because I do not think that signing Julian Alvarez literally solves Arsenal's insufficient goal scoring problems. And when I say insufficient, is to say that my expectation of them as a team, based on the quality that they have within them, they should be scoring more than they did, but we'll have to wait and see. At the end of the day, they have to make their decisions. Then, like I said, for William Saliba, that withdrawal has everything to do with his back injury. Speculation has had it for quite some time that he may need surgery on his back. So, and that's why you've had reports linking Arsenal with the potential move for Enzri Konsa from Aston Villa. So, anyways, then according to Ben Jacobs, Christos Zolis has informed Arsenal he wants to join the club, and club-to-club talks are set to accelerate. Zolis to cost about 30 to 35 million pounds, depending on what the structure of the deal is. Club Rouge are willing to sell this summer. So that's after Leandro Trossard joined Besiktas. He was unveiled as well at Besiktas. He's had a good career at Arsenal. I think in about 174 games, he scored 36 goals and provided 31 assists, giving him a 67 overall goal involvement. He did join the club. That was in January 2023, after Arsenal had missed out on the signing of Mokalo Modric, who joined Chelsea as opposed to going to Arsenal. So we'll wait and see. Okay. But those are some of the key transfers that have happened thus far. Then now, in Johan Manzambi choosing Aston Villa over Newcastle, it may sort of make a deal difficult for Arsenal to pull off for Bruno Guimaraes. Guimaraes loves the Arsenal project. Arsenal love him, but there is a mismatch in club-to-club valuation of the player. Newcastle apparently reached out to understand where Arsenal's interests, is at in the player, but they did not get concrete feedback. That's according to the hand of Arsenal in pertaining to that deal. Okay. Okay. So we'll keep tabs on that story as well when it comes to Bruno Guimaraes, but in Newcastle missing out on their prize target in Johan Manzambi, definitely it could tighten their resolve in not parting away with their captain. But it's a long transfer window. We'll have to wait and see if it does wrap up when he's still a Newcastle player, or otherwise, you never know. Maybe even another third party could join the rest to sign him at the tail end of the window. Then also, Visit Rwanda have formally entered into a short sponsorship deal with Aston Villa. They will be the club's main sponsors for the next season. That's Visit Rwanda. So you'll be seeing Visit Rwanda on the shirts of Aston Villa for their first men's team and the first women's team, and I think also the academy. And then in all other prominent spaces for Visit Rwanda. So we'll have to wait and see. Then when it comes to that deal, it's believed to be around the ballpark of 20 million pounds, which is a record deal for Aston Villa in terms of sponsorship. So Rwanda will be the official tourism partner and official coffee provider there, according to a statement put out by Aston Villa. So that is equally a very, very impressive deal for Visit Rwanda as well as Aston Villa, because it's the most expensive they've registered. Okay. Okay, let me revert back to your comments. Bellingham had a poor season at Real Madrid this season. Bellingham wasn't poor. Madrid were poor. Jesus Christ. I don't even know how to react to that comment, that Bellingham wasn't poor, but Real Madrid were poor. But Bellingham is part of Real Madrid, so he is as Real Madrid as any other player at Real Madrid. Would you define Kylian Mbappe's season with Real Madrid as a poor season? For his role, that is a goal scorer. Ken needs Olise. Okay, that's from Gary Warren. Goals, Jude isn't a striker. Okay, fair enough. When people say Messi is the GOAT, goats eat grass. Surely Messi Messi gets his magic from there. Farouk says they got two players out of the 85 million pounds for Fernandes, a senior in Tillemans and understudy in Santos. What a great deal for them. Indeed, it's just a great piece of business. When you compare it to what Tottenham have done, and that's not to make Tottenham feel lesser that their deals have been not good. They've been good. Getting Sandro Tonali and Matthias Fernandes, kudos to them. But for Manchester United to say, we do not believe Matthias Fernandes is worth 85 million pounds, would rather spend 85 million pounds elsewhere. It's money well spent if it's been spent on Andre Santos and Yuri Tillemans. Then Gary says, Messi runs like my grandfather in 2026. McKenna says, it isn't Jude's job to get the goals, but he does it anyway, as well as the rest. Okay, can't overlook Ken goals. Okay, responded. There's an expectation to every. There's an exception to every rule, but to think Jude isn't having the tournament of his life is so silly. Who said Jude is not having the tournament of his life? Correct me if I'm wrong. Who said that? Dembele just died. He hasn't joined Aston Villa. Okay, the deal is not yet announced, but the expectation is that he will finalize that move. It's just social media nonsense. That's your prerogative to feel that way. Hi, Cedric. Cedric says, hi, guys. Cedric joining us from France. Okay. Is no bid for Bruno. Okay. Hard to swallow. Do you remember I told you only Spain can try France? I remember that, Viola. Thank you for that comment. It's literally all social media nonsense. Okay. That guy who replaced Saliba, did Arsenal want him? No, it's Chelsea that want to sign Maxence Lekwa from Crystal Palace. That's the player that you're referring to. Your Chelsea that you support passionately, Viola, is the same side that wants to sign Maxence Lekwa. Apologies on that internet glitch. Aston Villa are asking. Aston Villa asking. They have to sell fast. They got fined by UEFA 20 million this season. Yes, they have PSR problems, that's for sure. And you expect a couple of players to leave. There's an expectation that Lucas Digne will leave and join PSG. So we are waiting for that also. We know of Arsenal's reported interest in Morgan Rogers. Chelsea have also inquired about the player. Man United were reported to have some level of interest, but let's wait and see. Tottenham Hotspurs also inquired about Morgan Rogers, but none of those have firmed up their interests. Well, let's wait and at the end of the World Cup and see how things shape up. The thing about Johan Manzambi, it's that he, according to reports, is that he's chosen Aston Villa over Newcastle. At least that's what we are getting. There's nothing to suggest that that cannot change last minute if transfer business is anything to go by. I do remember Mikel Modric being hell-bent on wanting to join Arsenal, but somehow Chelsea came and soaked him and, he ended up joining them. So, okay, Cedric says people here are mad at Didier Deschamps' tactical choices. The team relied on Odyssey, and once Spain shut him down, there was nothing on the attack. Chucky and Due would never been better. Okay. Oh, you're saying Chucky and Due would have been better. Okay. I mean, they eventually came on and did not have a decent game. For me, my view was that for him to try and stack that midfield, for it to be a bit more compact, not as loose as it did behave. Epic says France capitulated like it was World War II. Butter to very active in transfers after the World Cup. That's the expectation. Amelia still in tears after France's loss. Josh Allen says, evening, brother, just stopping in a while. Do I do my evening? What? Okay. I've seen all this Bruno stuff. There has not been a single bid from Arsenal. I think McKenna, we discussed how transfers operate and how some deals are not as straightforward as others are made to look. So I'll leave it at that. I'll give you the benefit of doubt that you do recollect everything we discussed when that moment came on how transfers really operate. Especially when you're dealing with players that do not have release clauses. That's why Man United, once they learned about Yuri Tielemans' release clause, they simply went and made the offer, £35 million, no negotiations, nothing. Pay that, discuss with the player, contract done, and he's a Man United player. As simple as that, So we'll have to wait and see. Okay, then Rev Kaliba says, I saw the game today. Spain played very well today with France. That is indeed true. How is that not nonsense? Okay, if you believe so, there's a reason as why we call it transfer speculation and gossip. McKenna, maybe you ought to reflect on that. You almost prepared to follow a narrative that doesn't actually exist because you have read it on social media. There's literally no McKenna. I do take my time to read different news reports from credible sources. I think out of the transfer gossip and speculation that comes out on a single daily basis, I don't even bring out 10% of it. I don't believe so because there's a lot of it. Some of it very wishful, some of it very misleading, some of it being floated by agents to try and get improved contracts for their players, etc., etc. Now, I'll give you an example. One of my trusted sources when it comes to transfer reports or information, one of them is The Athletic. Two is BBC Sport. The other is The Telegram. Then it goes to individual journalists who cover different clubs. Look, there's a journalist called Craig Hope. He does cover Newcastle, I think for either Daily Mail or Mirror, one of the two. He's a very good one for inside information when it comes to Newcastle. So those are some of the people that I really leverage on when it comes to transfer reports and other, information. Then you also have a couple of guys at the Independent. Miguel Delaney is often good. There's another one, I've forgotten his name. David Austin is one of the reliable people when it comes to transfers. He does not write all of it. Sometimes you have to go to the Athletic podcast and hear what he has to say about certain things. So those are some of them, just to give you a tip of it. But it's okay if you do not believe everything that comes out of my mouth. That's also okay, Okay. Okay. Just a second. I'm trying to really locate where I've ended that. Okay. Hi, brother. That's from Algorithm. Then Josh Allen did ask, what are your thoughts on Manchester United signing Yuri Tillemans? I think they're getting themselves a quite decent player for a fair fee. 29 years of age, quite experienced in his role. Perfect number 8, linking up play from the defensive side of the game to the attacking side of the game, box to box kind of midfielder, can pop up in the right areas to, score you that decent goal, as he did against Chelsea in the FA Cup final in 2021 when he was still at Leicester City. You remember that Leicester City that was still under the charges of Brendan Rodgers, with the likes of I think Kolo Toure as one of his assistants at the time. I think it was after that he then left for the Wigan job. I stand to be corrected if I misconstrued a couple of facts in between there, but that's to the best of my recollection. Algorithm says there are rumors about Diego Costa leaving FC Porto. Hijland already in Atletico Madrid. Sheldrop has a 50 million offer from Benfica. Offer that Benfica may accept. I've had those reports. Diego Costa has been a rumored target for Chelsea in as far as their goalkeeping position is for quite some time. We are waiting for Chelsea to firm up their interest, but we know that they also previously held interest in the AC Milan goalkeeper, Mike Maignan, who has also been featured for the French national team, but that was last summer prior to the Club World Cup. So I don't know if their interest has since shifted, but we'll have to wait and see. It's so weird that we are discussing Bruno to Arsenal when there is no actual bid. Think about it for a second. McKenna, we do not discuss transfers when a bid has gone in. We discuss transfers when a club registers interest at whatever level, So it may not be at a level of your personal preference, but at whatever level. And interest is always there. I remember clubs often have a short list of targets. I'll give you an example. Let's say Newcastle are looking for a midfielder to replace, let's say, Sandro Tonali. They're not just going to target one player because they know they could target that single player and eventually not get him. So they often have a short list of players that they will be interested in signing. And they'll test the waters as they go, depending on their respective valuation of those players and depending on what the competition is on a particular player. And then eventually they'll end up signing one. When we were discussing Newcastle at some point, I mentioned about some of the targets they missed last summer, some because they chose other clubs or because Newcastle maybe did not act quickly enough. You remember Hugo Ekitike, there was interest there, but they never got him. It's not to say that they eventually put in their bid. You remember with Benjamin Sesko, so it came to that. But before bids go in, it begins with interest. And that interest has also to be at club level and then also taken to, to the player side. I'll give you an example. We've talked about Leandro Trossard in this conversation. He's joined Besiktas. Now, Besiktas registered their interest in Leandro Trossard last summer, but Arsenal did not want to sell. They wanted to offer up to about 25 million euros, but Arsenal were not interested in selling. Fast forward this summer, Arsenal were okay to let the player go. So they reached an agreement in principle in terms of the transfer fee for the player, but the player had not said yes to Besiktas. So personal terms were still pending. They spent quite some time discussing that, partly because he was still at the World Cup, so maybe he was preoccupied predominantly with that. Eventually, he came around to the table, and now he's a Besiktas player. So the transfer journey is like a consumer's or a buyer's journey, So, and now bids can also be official and can also be unofficial. I'll give you an example. An official bid is when a club representatives reach out to the other club to say, we are offering this much to sign your player X. And so that's an official bid. So that official bid can be rejected just as well as an informal bid. Usually an informal bid goes through intermediaries. I'll give you an example. When Enzo Maresca was at Chelsea, he had the obligation to report to his bosses if he ever had any approaches for his services from another club. And in October, I think it was October 2025, and subsequently in December of the same year, when Manchester City approached Enzo Maresca through intermediaries. So intermediaries are third parties in the conversation. So Enzo Maresca obviously informed Chelsea. So even in transfer deals, intermediaries are used, in an attempt to sign a player. So not all deals are done directly between club to club. Some involve intermediaries depending on the circumstances of the different clubs and how they operate. So, but that's just my view. It is okay if you have a different view of how things operate. My view is not alpha. It's not the alpha and omega. So, but that's to the best of my knowledge of how business is done when it comes to transfers. And it's not to say it's the final way of doing all transfer business. Okay. Farouk says Chelsea fans look keenly at Lekwa. He resembles Saliba. Maybe you assume from there to get him. Come play your center back. Vala says, but this game, it was like PSG and Chelsea. Really? Yes, but there hasn't been a beat. Okay. There has not been any beats. Okay. Algorithm says Spain did the same to Portugal as today. Spain did the same to Portugal as today. Loctite defense and clinical passes / finish. Okay. There has not even been a contact between the clubs. That's to the best of your knowledge. My knowledge gives me differently. So, like I said, it's okay if we have different sources for these sorts of information. Agree to disagree. Rev Caliber says, I think Oyarzabal and Pedro Porro is a good duo in the field. Both of them are gonna score more goals when Luis de la Fuente try to keep this tactic again. Okay. We'll have to wait and see how they operate going forward. I don't want to lose track of some of your comments. Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. I think I lost track there in a bit. But let me trace myself where I stopped with those comments. Okay. Oyarzabal, okay. I think I read that. Okay. Then you will know that there is no bid. What is the bid then? Rabiot and Dinya, their players. Then Kadi said Jesus isn't God. Rabadaba. I don't know what how we solicited that comment, but okay. What have Arsenal bid for Bruno? Okay, we've discussed that on multiple occasions. I'll not repeat that. Real-time intel, because no matter how I mention it, you still won't believe it. So I'll just leave it at that. Real-time intel says European teams dominating. Okay. There's only one South American team left, and the other three are from Europe. Okay, by the way, actually four of the teams that I mentioned as favorites for this World Cup have made it to the semi-finals. In that video, we had talked about Spain, France, Portugal, England. We talked about Brazil and Argentina. So Argentina are in, France, Spain, England. So, and at least two of them are going to play the final, and at least one of them is going to win it. Too bad it's not Portugal, for those of you that thought or wished for it to go to Portugal. Okay. Yes, I know. I live in Newcastle. Okay. What's your club team? That is Papa Wozi. So what is the bid then? The same journalist you mentioned are also saying there is no contact whatsoever between the clubs. Um, I think I mentioned quite a set of journalists as my sources. I did not tie to only one. So if you're sticking to only one, anyways, we'll leave it at that. Okay. We need a centre back to play with Colwill. I think Chelsea will try to sign one, but you also have a couple of in there. Colwill, Fofana, Joshua Chepong, the youngster, Jorel Hato, who can play as the left-sided, centre back if he's going to play back three. I know some are outcasts at the moment; they are not into consideration. You're reading social media, okay? No contest. Bruno loves Manchester, okay? I don't think that's up for debate. Lekwa, that's from Papi Blue, says Lekwa looked good even though France lost. That was his observation. Then McKenna, who would not be interested in Bruno? Bruno Fernandes will not leave Manchester United. He had a chance to win 5 times more last summer and declined. He wants any one more title with Manchester United, then he will leave. Hopefully it all works out. Manchester United's ambition is to win the Premier League title at least by 2028. So whatever they are building towards, remember that's the dream. Whether they can do it in the coming season or the season after, because that will be 2027, 2028 is their primary objective. But if they can do it before that, well and good. We simply wish them the best of luck and all the Man United fans out there. Okay, you said no. You were saying bids have been made. He wants to leave. etc. It's literally all bullshit. Okay, fair enough. To you, what's the difference between a journalist and a gossip columnist? Notice I did not quote the Sun. Anyways, it is what it is. Like I said, differences of opinion on that one. You honestly do not think social media is flooded with accounts that just want clicks. I think I've lived on social media too long enough to know that clickbaits are a constant and engagement baits are a constant. You honestly can't see that they want your clicks. Like I said, I do not bring even 10% of the transfer gossip and speculation that is out there. Only that you've chosen to, earmark out one. And surprisingly, in all that we discuss on transfers, you only cut out the one of Bruno Guimaraes. I understand. I completely understand where you're coming from with that, but it is what it is. You cannot see that. You literally saw anything you see on social media. You believe, okay, if that's your perception. Papi Blue says, think Bakola is overrated. I don't think so, but there's a lot of room for improvement on his part. Yomkat says, why Lolo Mbappe was still the best player this match, but their passes were meat, especially inside the box. I think they lacked that, line-breaking pass. I don't think Spain offered them much space to even try it anyway. So he's fast. That's from McKenna responding to Papi Blue. Oyarzabal squad, Yamal was faking it and they got a penalty. Faking it? How was that faking it? I mean, there's really, really open contact from Lucas Digne. It was not intentional because he's looking to clear the ball that he's not even looking at, and he makes contact with Lamine Yamal. So you could say whether you think Lamine Yamal exploited that, but there's obvious contact. I don't think he faked that in any way. And when Porro scored, the defender messed up, and the Spanish players were faking it a lot on purpose, and many were fouls still. France, okay, if that's you say they played well. Oh, wow, you have quite the assessment of the game. Yes, all the journalists are saying that, okay. Maybe you should look, okay. Okay, which journalist is lying and saying there is been contact? Okay. Good night, guys. Chat you tomorrow. Thank you so much, Farouk, and thank you so much to everybody that has been part of this podcast for the last 2 hours and 15 minutes. Thank you so much, Ian. Thank you so much, McKenna. Thank you so much, Farouk, Yamkat, Papi Blue, Algorithm, Viola, Rio Time Intel, Kadashi, or Kad. I hope I pronounced it the wrong way. Papa Ozzy, thank you so much. You talked about Rabiot and Dinya. Okay, thank you. Then, who did I skip? I don't want to skip my shout outs. Yes, Rev Kaliba, Josh Allen, Amelia, Epic, Cedric. Always a pleasure to have you guys around. Thank you so much for your contribution to the discussion as always. Shimi, Gary Warren, was a pleasure seeing you around today. Leonetao, B, Singh, Joel, thank you so much. Sino Bueno, it was a pleasure. Denish Patel, even though you claim you're from South Korea, to the disagreement of others. Simon Mola, thank you so much. KI, always, a pleasure to have you around. Raymond Kangumba, even with your overly repetitive comments about the kind of players that you think Newcastle should be signing. Thank you. Then Titan. Then Santosh, and then Mitchell Wainscots, Bash Ghana, aka Yiga Bashir. Thank you, all of you guys, for having been part of the discussion tonight. It's always very, very engaging and fruitful when you keep me company, and I look forward to the next one. Good luck, bro, big bro. Thank you so much. McKenna, was that an emoji? I did not get that. You said Sunderland. I don't know what prompted you to say Sunderland. Okay, what do you think about Wilson Isido, Sunderland player who scored a long-range goal against Morocco? He's okay for Sunderland. I don't think he's not shown enough of me to say he deserves an upgrade from where he is. Oftentimes it takes me more than quite a significant period of time for me to really, really come around to acknowledging a player that maybe they're different or they're unique or, something like that. Whatever a player does, no matter how impressive, I want to see how consistently they can do it, how repetitively they can do it. And if they can achieve that over time, I'll definitely be sold. I remember I oftentimes cite the example of Harry Kane when he was first coming out at Tottenham Hotspurs. I waited for him. I gave him at least 2 seasons to prove himself. Until then, that's when I was like, yeah, he quite has it when it came to goal scoring. Now, for some players, obviously, when I remember when Alexander Isak was coming to Newcastle, I had no doubt that he was a brilliant player because I'd watched enough of him during his time at Real Sociedad, including one of those seasons when he was playing with Martin Odegaard on loan from Real Madrid. So, Wilson Isido to Man United, is it possible? It can be their wish, but I mean, how is he going to be better than Joshua Zirkzee? I mean, you must be upgrading. You've just gotten rid of Rasmus Højlund. You must be upgrading. And by the way, Benjamin Sesko, he would rather be, for a team like Manchester United, Benjamin Sesko should be an understudy striker for whoever the prime target is. However, you also look at the strikers market and it's not so rich. It's not so rich with top talent. There are not so many Kylian Mbappes or Brad Erling Haalands that are really, really being consistent out there, So that's maybe their undoing. But, even Dusan Vlahovic, I mean, he had it the last couple of seasons at Juventus. He's not had it. So, look at Jonathan David leaving, was it Lille, to go to Juventus. His debut campaign wasn't that good. 6 goals and 4 assists. So the strikers market is there about. We are still waiting for more talent to come out, perhaps. Okay. Crow mistress will have to sell eventually or face the lash. That's okay. PSR is a crow mistress. Sunderland will have to sell eventually or face it, or face the draft, or face the lash. You know, it's one of those painful parts, by the way. I mean, rules are meant to be obeyed. But imagine Newcastle, what they must have felt watching Elliot Anderson. And I do not know if they had a sell-on clause, by the way, in his deal that saw him join Nottingham Forest back in 2024. 2 seasons, and he's gone to Manchester City quite expensively. At the same time, they were forced to sell Yankuba Minte to Brighton because they needed to stay on the right side of profit and sustainability rules. So the good thing is that they're going to go to the mode of squad cost ratio, and maybe that will improve their circumstances. But again, when you're a club like Aston Villa, you're still compelled to sell, yet you're trying to build a very good team that can challenge the big boys, can compete favorably in the Champions League, but also domestically. So it becomes a bit challenging, it becomes a bit challenging for some of those clubs. And I remember, I think it was in the summer, before the start of last campaign, when I did an episode on the channel, that the system is rigged or against the mid-table teams. Because tell me why, if I acquire a business the same way PIF acquired Newcastle, but I cannot directly inject cash to revive the business if I feel it has potential, but it is not currently doing well. That I sort of feel that there must be a certain reasonable amount of money that can be directly injected into the club. I'll give an example. Given the amount of money that the Saudis have, imagine if they had been permitted to inject at least anywhere between maybe 250 to 500 million pounds. It could be sort of, let's say, phased, not to say throw the money at them in one go. Maybe within a space of 3 years. Surely their circumstances will be much, much different. Maybe they wouldn't even be losing some of their star players at the moment, So it becomes a bit challenging for teams like Newcastle, for teams like Aston Villa, for teams like Everton, that we expect to build over time and catch up to the traditional maybe top 4 or big 6 in that sort of, a sense. But it is what it is. They make the rules. We simply watch them, follow them. See, especially players cannot be singled out and said you sign this. They are system players of a federation that has been building the system from ground up. Take Spain players somewhere. The mid Sunderland income is like 200 million. They'll have to sell. Okay, if we hadn't sold Anderson, we were facing a 10-point penalty that would have relegated us. That's what I was saying. No loans are bad. Are you saying loans are bad? Good night, everyone. Good night. See you tomorrow. Good night, Kariba. Also, we can't just we can't. Okay. Also, we can't just get like Ganacho to. Oh, sorry. You're saying Amako. Oh, okay. Apologies on that. To sponsor us for like 1 billion. Loans are banned. Yeah, like loans of it becomes a bit difficult, really. It becomes a bit difficult because if a business is doing well, you're looking to scale it. Or if you feel it is struggling, it may need a cash injection to improve it, So it's almost like there's a way teams are locked into a certain cycle, and it's like you're almost forcing Aston Villa or Newcastle into a model of Brighton. But remember, Brighton's ambitions are lesser of what Newcastle could be having, because Brighton will have a very good scouting department. Will go and get the players quite maybe fairly cheaply, and in 2-3 years' time, or even 4, sell them quite expensively. So Newcastle ideally wouldn't want to be looking at that sort of model. Their ambitions ought to be bigger, So, but it is what it is. It's literally called the Newcastle rules. Anyways, good night, guys. It's been a pleasure. Bye bye. Until next time. Stay blessed. Until tomorrow. Good night.